Imagine this. You walk into a bakery with a handful of cash. By the time you reach the counter, the price of bread has already doubled. Sounds like a joke, right? But this was daily life in Zimbabwe. At one point, the government printed notes worth $100 trillion. And guess what? It was not even enough for groceries. So let me ask you this. Why does money lose its value so dramatically in some countries, while in others, prices stay almost the same for years? In this video, you will discover why hyperinflation happens, why governments sometimes make such disastrous decisions, and most importantly, what it means for ordinary people like you and me. We will answer, what exactly is hyperinflation? Why do governments keep printing money? Which countries went through the worst crises in history? What happens to citizens in the middle of it? And finally, could it happen in stable economies today? And do not worry, this will not be a boring economics lecture. Think of it as explaining finance at a family dinner table, with a little humor along the way. Section 1. What is hyperinflation? Inflation is normal. It is when prices rise slowly over time. A burger that cost $5 a few years ago might cost $6 today. But hyperinflation is different. It is when prices explode so fast, money practically becomes worthless. Imagine going to the supermarket in the morning. A bag of rice costs $10. By the afternoon, it costs $20. Economists call it hyperinflation when prices rise more than 50% in a single month. 50% per month. So if your rent was $1,000 in January, by March, it could be more than $2,000. Let me ask you, how would you plan your life if your paycheck lost value the very moment you got it? Section 2. Why does it happen? Why does hyperinflation appear? The short answer, when governments lose control of money. Picture a family that spends more than they earn every month. At first, they borrow from friends, but eventually, no one trusts them anymore. So they start printing fake bills at home. That is exactly what some governments do, except their fake bills are official money. Take Germany after World War I. The government had massive debts. They printed more and more marks. By 1923, people carried wheelbarrows full of cash just to buy bread. Or look at Venezuela. When oil prices collapsed, thus the government lost its main income. Instead of cutting spending, they printed money. And the result? Years of runaway prices. Here's the irony. Governments print money to make citizens feel richer, but in reality, it makes everyone poorer. So here's the question. Who allows this to happen? Section 3. Who causes hyperinflation? Often, it is the politicians. Leaders fear losing popularity. So instead of painful reforms, they choose the easy way, print more money. But central banks also play a role. In stable countries, banks are independent. They can say no to reckless spending. In unstable countries, politicians control the banks, which means endless printing. Example, Zimbabwe under Robert Mugabe. The central bank printed non-stop to pay for land reforms and military expenses. The result? Banknotes with 15 zeros, 100 trillion Zimbabwean dollars. And yet, it could not even buy lunch. Sometimes foreign pressure is also a trigger. Yugoslavia in the 1990s faced international sanctions. The government printed money to keep the system alive, and that led to one of the worst hyperinflations in history. So, who causes hyperinflation? A toxic mix of irresponsible leaders, weak institutions, and external shocks. But what about the people living inside it? Section 4. What happens to people? Here comes the real tragedy. Imagine saving money for years to buy a car. Then waking up one day to discover your savings can only buy a bicycle. That is what hyperinflation does. It destroys trust in money itself. In Hungary, after World War II, prices doubled every 15 hours. People spent money the instant they got it because waiting even one day meant they could afford less. In Zimbabwe, children literally played with stacks of banknotes like Lego bricks. Citizens stopped using their own money and switched to foreign currencies. Here is something interesting. Businesses sometimes survive better than regular citizens. Why? Because they can change prices daily. Workers, however, get paid only once a month. That gap creates massive inequality. So let me ask you, if your national currency suddenly became worthless, what would you use instead? Dollars, gold, maybe even digital currency? Section 5. Can it happen today? Now, you might be thinking, all right, scary stuff. But could this ever happen in the United States or Europe? The short answer, very unlikely. Why? Because stable countries have independent banks, stronger institutions, and global trust. That makes hyperinflation rare today. But here is the warning. No country is completely safe if debts spiral out of control, if governments lose credibility, or if a massive external shock hits, hyperinflation could return. So the better question is not, could it happen? But how do we make sure it does not? Conclusion, hyperinflation is the ultimate reminder that money only works when people trust it. Without that trust, $100 trillion bill is just colorful paper. It shows both sides. Money can build nations, but abused, it can destroy them faster than any war. The main lesson? Printing money recklessly is never free. Someone always pays the price. And usually, it is the ordinary citizen. Now I want to hear from you. What would you do if your country suddenly faced hyperinflation? Would you buy gold, cryptocurrencies, or just stockpile food? Comment below and let's talk about it. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with a friend who thinks money literally grows on trees. And if you want to keep learning, check out my other video, The History of the Dollar. You will be surprised by what you discover.